I just had a thought. With this coronavirus and everybody wearing a mask, doesn't that make it easier for people to go into banks and rob them because they already have a mask on and they're afraid, they can act like they're afraid to catch the virus? And then that would be one of the reasons why at 17th and JFK that someone goes in there as a bank robbery to kind of set the stage and the scene for clearing the area with the William Penn building getting hit. Well, today is April 7th and tomorrow is April 8th, and my final predictions for tomorrow, because we're this 40-day period, we're getting close to it, where the person that dies, that's acting as Christ, Donald Trump, he gets to rise up, because the theme is Trump dies for 3 days, or he's pronounced dead, or the rumor is that he is dead, or he's disappeared for 3 days and then he rises back up. But at the same time, when Trump dies, at 3 days later, Pence takes over at first, but then see, Pence is supposed to die also in the middle of the street, because at the time there's a 3.5 day period where Trump and or Pence dies in the street for 3.5 days, and then after 3.5 days, which could be the 7-day period. But then Kushner's supposed to take over. What I think Kushner takes over, Kushner is one of his sons. He stirs up the realm of Greece or something, and after a few days he's destroyed. But Trump is destroyed first, and then Mike Pence comes back into play. But today is 4th. At 5:04, it's April 7th, I meant. 4:05, I mean. 4:50. 45 days, 450 false prophets. So if Trump dies tomorrow of the virus or something, or the bombings begin, or the missiles start to rain over, it's April 8th. So that would give him until the Sabbath to rise back up. Between the 11th and the 12th, because the 11th is that Saturday? Yeah. And then the 12th is Sunday. Then from that point on, there's a 40-day period, and that'll take you all the way to May 21st, 2020. And then, you see, Trump doesn't go anywhere just yet. He has to, and that's why this rapture that they're going to play out, it's not truly going to be the first coming, as they play this out, isn't going to be the real deal rapture where they're really going to try to make you believe it, because at first they have to trick you. You have to think, well, Trump, my God, he died of the coronavirus, but then he came back to life 3 days later, just like Christ did. But it'll be a rumor that he really didn't die, and then it's just going to be a whole thing to make it twist and turn. That way you can get confused the 5th and the 6th seal and trumpet. Now, the presidential seal has been removed, which means the seal, the 6th seal, is opening up. And then when the 7th angel begins to sound, the mystery is finished. Behold, I come quickly. It happens really fast. But don't forget about the 21 days where there's 21 different judgments, because there's the 7 bowls of wrath, there's the 7 seals, and the seven trumpets. Now, do they happen all in line, 21 days? Is that the 21 days of Daniel? Where you got the trumpets, and then the seal, and then the bowls. Does it happen that the first trumpet, seal, and then the bowl of wrath, and that's 3 days, and then the next trumpet, seal, bowl, and next trumpet, like that? Or is it all the trumpets first, and then the seals, and then the bowls? Either way, a Trump script is to die, but not die, but come back to life. But then Pence also comes back, or Pence, the same thing happens with Pence. And with the same thing happening with Pence, it's like a 3.5 day period, or a 3 day period, and then Kushner takes over. But you got this 40-day period where these 2 witnesses are going to be dead in the streets, and isn't that around the 6th seal, something like that? Oh, man, but I gotta hit the books again, because it's kind of frustrating, because it just won't click in place. That's why when I try to think of how this script goes, because it's exactly what it is, it's a damn script, if you haven't figured it out by now. It's that 5th and 6th, it's in between. Because they're definitely going to make you think that. See, here's the thing. When the 5th trumpet happens, which it already did, but when they play it out, the sun and the air are darkened by the reasoning of the smoke from the pit, because the beast rises up from the pit. And then with the 6th seal, the sun is darkened, the moon doesn't give its light. It's similar. Do you understand how it's similar? Because it's similar with the 5th trumpet, with the air being darkened, that sounds more like a major bombing that destroys, like, Philadelphia or something in 1 hour at that point. But at the same time, there's going to be another, like New York will be wiped out with a tsunami in the same hour, because then it's like, well, which city was it? Because they're not going to give you a clear, definitive, it is that city. That's Bible prophecy right there. Nope. Not even when this is all over, you're not even going to have a clear understanding. I mean, you will, this channel, but not the world. The world, Christ came as a thief in the night. They're still going to be looking to fulfill Bible prophecy 1,000 years from now. Yeah, I wonder if this happens all the time. As the sun and the air is darkened by the reason of the smoke of the pit, even though it's the clouds, like the clouds of judgment, that it's darkened, the air. But as it is in heaven, so shall be on earth. The elite play this thing out. What the hell is she doing? Wow. Well, must be tormented by a demon, because she's sitting there. It looked normal to me, I don't know, and then rocking back and forth with the phone in her face. Oh, by the way, it's more than half the people now that I see that have masks on. It's more than half. Everybody's showing their fear. Whatever. Now, from the 5th and the 6th, as they play this out, you have this 43-day period, because Trump has to get back up and act like nothing happened when he dies, or when the rumor is that he died, but then, or when he disappears, or he'll never give you a clear answer either as to where he was or what actually happened. And but then when he ascends up to heaven in the rapture, There's only 2 dates that when they play out this fake rapture, the true, real deal, end of all be all type rapture, May 14th, 2020, May 21st, 2020. It's one or the other. It has to be one or the other. Because after the 40-day period, that's when Trump ascends up to heaven, just like Christ did. So remember, when Christ was crucified, they raised him up. They put him, it's like being put like on a housetop, the mountain kind of thing, like hung on a tree. They raise him up to be seen. You have the good and the bad, one on the left, one on the right. Christ is there to reconcile both back to the one person so you can stop warring with yourself, because the enemy is you. It ain't anybody else. People aren't your enemies. You are your own worst enemy. And then how you react towards people and how you feel about them is your own judgment. And then you live your life based upon your discernment of how you're judging other people. Like, it's fine. I mean, if you see people doing something wrong, you got something to say and you want to try to correct them, just as long as you know that you need to do the same thing with yourself, that's perfectly okay. But when you're judging people and you're just not willing to look at yourself, then, whatever. So the 11th of April is the Sabbath, but depending on if you believe it's Saturday or Sunday, so that's why they can get you with that too. April 11th, April 12th, and then the 40-day period lands on May 21st. But 3 days prior to that, Trump has to die like Christ. Who else in the world is gonna die of the coronavirus besides Trump? Like, who else is playing the Christ role, the Christ figure that is worldwide famous? And then with Obama, the same thing. He's going to play the Antichrist because he's the dark figure that Nostradamus predicted. The fictitious character that the government, or even if he was real, he's like Richie from Boston. It's like any other false prophet that has the script and then they predict things that happen. It's like TEEVEE, Christopher Green. Hey, Christopher, you always look like you're over in Hawaii still. Are you scared to be over here in America? To be in the thick of things, in the midst of it, in the lion's den? Are you scared to be tried through the fire? I think so. I think you're scared to death. That's why you're over there doing your videos. I'm just saying. Scared people. So as we're over here, you're going to have a 40-day period. At the same time, the 40-day period that the Antichrist is going to reign for is the same time that they're playing out Christ reigning for, because whoever's playing out Christ is an Antichrist, because you're not Christ, you're playing him. You're being played, but you're acting like him. Even though you're not acting like him at all, but you need to act more like Christ, but you're acting because you're a bad actor. So I'm going to say my final prediction. Donald Trump dies tomorrow, because tomorrow is the 8th of April, in the midst of the week, Wednesday, and then he rises back up. But at the same time, man, I tell you, it's like when Christ died, there was a great earthquake. So you'll hear like this great earthquake, but that's not going to be the great earthquake of Israel, because there's the same thing that they're going to play out, is what I'm trying to say. Between the 5th and the 6th, the same thing that they're going to play out is going to be very similar, spread out 43 days apart, because the sun and the air is going to be dark, but it's going to be because of nuclear bombs or some type of catastrophe like that, or the asteroid comes from planet X and destroys us. It penetrates through our firmament somehow and just goes straight through, and then lands, and it hits the water over in New York that causes the tsunami. But at the same time, they're going to blame it on God and say it was they're going to blame it on missiles, Kim Jong-un, but at the same time, it's going to be just the power's going to be cut in New York, and they're going to warn them right beforehand that Kim Jong-un is getting ready to send a missile's coming. See, listen up. You are going to get your local news channels, and they're going to give you local news. That's what it's going to come down to. We're not going to have Wi-Fi come May 1st because they're not going to just cut off. You're going to be told as you're sitting in your living room, New York. Anybody from New York? Here's what you're going to hear. Breaking news. We have breaking situation that there's missiles coming from Kim Jong-un, and we only have 30 minutes and we can't stop it, and just bunker up, everybody, because it's heading our way. And then that'll hit the EMP, which cuts out your power, but you're going to see this great big wave from Dave the Wave. He's going to send this wave coming at you. You're going to see it coming out your window. Because it's going to be this wave coming at you, 70 technology, and then and I think Kleck's going to dump a bunch of water from the sky after you see it coming towards you, and then it all hits the ground. Or I said this before, the aliens are going to stop it and zap. The aliens are going to zap this wave coming over with their zap guns. They're going to zap the holographic image down, and then they'll be looked at as heroes. Because we can't forget, we're going to be abducted by aliens, and the rapture is going to happen at the same time. But it's going to happen twice. The first time is when Trump dies and comes back to life, and there's going to be like people missing for some reason, and because they either died of the virus or they just are missing. Like, where did they go? And then that's when Pence takes over, someone on his own behalf. But then come 40 days later, it's when the actual, well, will it be 40 days later? This is why I'm torn between May 14th and May 21st, 2020 of being the great, tremendous earthquake. Because maybe on the 14th of May we get a 7-day warning until you got to get into the ark, which they're playing out, and then a 40-day period from that point on. But it's not really going to be that way, because it's really going to be a 10-day tribulation period, because it's the 8th full year since we were warned May 21st, 2011, that God's judgment started, and we're at the very tail end. But once you get to the 8th full year, now we're going into perdition. Now it's the great tribulation period, because it's a 10-day tribulation period. That's how great it's going to be. And the first 7 days, it's going to be, it's absolute destruction. And then the last 3 days is the darkness. Now, again, it could start on May 14th, 2020, and then the 7 days takes us to May 21st. And then it's lights out, sun drops, no more light, the moon's bloody, spin around for 3 days, and there's no power, there's no nothing. I like that idea better, to happen on May 14th, 2020, because it'll be a great earthquake, but it won't be the actual earthquake that destroys everything. Or maybe it will be. And then you got 7 days from that point on, which takes us to May 21st, 2020. I know it's a lot to remember, but I'll keep repeating myself anyway. Just to make sure that you get it. And then we got 3 days of darkness. That takes us to the, like the first month and the 24th day of the first month. Or on the 24th day of the month, that's when the sun rises back up, because they're going to park it for 3 days in the sea. And then when that beast, because the beast rises up from the sea every day, and then it spins around us. So when it rises back up on the 24th, then you'll have 7 days of, everybody gets to catch their breath. It's like as soon as you get off a roller coaster ride, you gotta like, just hold on, mate. Come on, let's go on another ride. No, just hold on. Give me 7 minutes to, relax. So it's a 7-day cleansing period. Because when Noah got into the ark, and he had a 7-day warning to get into the ark, but so far we don't have a 7-day warning, do we? Maybe from April 1st, April Fool's Day. But then if nothing happens tomorrow, well, then we're not there yet. But when Noah got in the ark, he had a 7-year notice to get into the ark, 7 full years to get into the ark, and then he had a 365-day period being in the ark, because it's like the first. You can say it's 7 days, whatever, and then you can say it's 40 days, 40 nights. I say it's 7 years to get in the ark. Noah had a 7-year, a day is a year, warning to get into the ark. And then because you got 7 years to get in the ark, and then you're going to have a testing period, which is 40 days and 40 nights, testing. And then at the end, towards the end, there was a 40-day actual period that it took place because the waters had to be abated, and then you tie that in with the 150 days at the very end. But the 40 days is at the end of the 150 days. Then you have, again, it's just my own private interpretation. Then Noah sent out the raven and the dove for that 7 days after the ark. So let's say the 40 days starts on the 11th when Trump rises back up. And then it's 40 days from that point on. That lands on May 21st. But then to wait wait a minute. Let's go with tomorrow, the 8th. The 40-day period would end, I think, on the 18th of May, which lines up pretty good with my theory from last year. The rapture happening on May 18th, 2020. 365 days later. And Trump is involved with the rapture. And then you start your countdown from there, and you take your 7 days, or would it be the 17th? Somewhere in between there. And you take your 7 days, and it takes you to May 25th, 2020. At that time, it's, the sun rises back up, and then Noah, he knew the waters were abated already, but then he's going to wait another 7 days until it was dry, until the earth was completely cleansed and dried up from the flood. And then that's the second month and the 27th day of the second month, according to Harold Camping's calendar. That's May 31st. And then it's the first actual day, the first month, the first brand new year of eternity, June 1st, 2020. And because we're in the 8th year of the tribulation period, then we go into 10 days of a great tribulation. Because those 10 days, this is all just a warm-up to get you prepared, to get you ready, get your psychology ready to deal with everything shutting down. You notice how everything is kind of like normal, where if you're out and about and you're seeing like there's barely anybody on the street, it's kind of just getting like, you're getting conditioned to, it's kind of normal. You're seeing basically half the people it's like everybody's wearing a mask, and then next week it'll be about 75% of people wearing a mask, and then the following week it'll be like 99% of the people that you see on the streets going to be wearing a mask, because if you're not wearing a mask, hey, buddy, come here, get over here. Have you been vaccinated for that? No. You're going to need to... No, I'm not. I'm out of here. See ya. I'll go home. And then you can't... It's like Rudolph. In the beginning, you got this light. You got this glow about you that the darkness just... You can't stand it. It's like that right there. You're like the sun. You're like the sun in people's eyes. The cockroaches' eyes. Because they don't like the light, so they scatter. And when you step into a dark place as the light, The only thing that you're doing is exposing what's in the dark. That's what light is. Darkness doesn't really comprehend what the light is, doesn't like it. And so the darkness, it's going to want you to get out of their face. So the light that's in your eyes, it's going to show you the truth, and the darkness is going to cover up the lies, because it covers up everything and you can't see anything. Therefore, the people that are running stuff, and they're going to be stationed in areas to like checkpoints, and you're going to need to get tested, and if you don't cooperate, they're not going to invite you to the damn reindeer games. But eventually it gets to the point where Satan's claws needs you to lead the way, because your nose is so bright, and then you all of a sudden everybody wants to be your buddy. Before, they're rejecting you, and then afterwards they finally are starting to listen to you. And that's the best part about all this. I could just ramble on, just keep talking and talking and talking, push record, talking to my journal, to myself, really. I'm just talking to myself. Like right now, if rewind it like 30 years ago before cell phones came out, if you're in that area and then you see somebody with this thing in their face and they're like talking to it, you're going to be like, what the hell is that person doing? But now, you're actually taking this and taking it to the ends of the earth. And the entire world, whoever's watching, can hear what you got to say. And that's how I got the elite's attention. By doing that, day in and day out. I didn't know it was going to happen this way. It just did. Now I know this is the way it works. So Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. Christ comes as a thief in the night. If you didn't see him back in 2011, the first coming, the first resurrection, well then it's quite possible that you're going to die of the second resurrection, because the second death has no power over the people that died the first time in the resurrection when your soul got resurrected. I know people can't understand that except for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, because you understand that a resurrection is death and life all in the same cycle. To die in Christ is to live. To lose your life, you gain your life. It's the cycle of life. What do you think? Let me ask you this. What is the most useless thing in the world that every single human and living creature has or does? What is the most useless thing that you can possibly think of that you don't need in your life at all, and you don't need physically? What is it? Crap. It's poop. The poop that exits out of your body. What do you need what good is it? You flush it down the toilet, don't you? Well, don't you know that the same manure is used as fertilizer to start life again? So the absolute useless piece of shit that you can possibly think of creates life. It's a cycle of life. It's like God is that. When you think of God, I think of things that just click and connect that you cannot possibly ever, you can't even make the stuff up, and it happens. So you use useless shit. Matter of fact, I smell it right now. Fertilizer. To grow life again. It's amazing that God does that. It's never going to end. This world is just not going to end. It never ends. It'll continue on. It's going to repeat things over and over again. But luckily this time, Jonathan Kleck has all the truth in the world. He has all the scriptures. He knows whether Christ actually showed up 2,000 years ago, or if it's a day he also knows when that verse comes into play. I think it's 2 Peter verse 3, chapter 3, verse 8. Be not ignorant of this one thing, brethren, that 1 year, 1,000 years is as 1 year, and 1 year is as 1,000 years. He knows whether it's 2,000 years ago or 2 years ago. He knows whether Bible prophecy was fulfilled or it's being fulfilled. Because when you have all the records, when you're the one like Noah that got into the ark and you had all the information from the entire world's history, you know, and as you're being the surveiller, you're being the person, like you're watching me right now through this camera hole as a push record, it's not even uploaded yet. When you have the ability to watch everybody anywhere at any given point in time, that's why Kleck says the burden of the world is on the shoulders. And if you can see, only if you can see the way that I see, and sometimes it's pretty disturbing, it's because it's like this. Here's what Kleck sees. Here. As your center console's right here, or right here, Kleck sees you and he can see what you're doing. So it's quite disturbing when he sees people that, even the ones that when you push record, you're not the same person when you're not pushing record. If you're the same person behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, it's more natural, ain't it? And I know that's what people behind the scenes have more respect for, is when people like myself can be natural in front of the camera and the same behind the camera. Now, I still work on my anxiety with the world, but then I always remember this thing that Justin said, which helps, is the moment it's like you step outside, and eventually you just get over it. You step outside filled with anxiety, getting ready to walk to wherever, and then you remember everybody's easily programmed human. And it is making itself clear when you're seeing, and look, if you're one of the people that are wearing a mask, look, it's whatever, you want to wear it, it's fine, go ahead. You're just showing fear. It's written on your face. You might as well write, I'm scared. Just saying. It's showing me exactly how easy it is that Kleck is just making people, it's a rumor, people, it's a rumor.